So the Jefferson School African American Heritage Center.
Yes.
Right. For like everybody should know, but Leslie, I got to be honest with you. I personally don't feel like that everybody has supported. I'm gonna call our people to the carpet because that's what I like to do on here.
Yeah.
This is my bully pulpit.
I'm with you.
So I actually heard a message this morning that stuck with me, and the phrase that they said was, "Unity doesn't have to mean uniformity."
Absolutely.
Right? Meaning that we do things different. We have different talents, so on and so forth.
Yeah. Blackness is a spectrum.
That's right. It's not a monolith, right?
Yeah.
But we could still be unified, in our goal.
Yes.
Right? Like sort of in the end result, right?
Yep.
The ends justifying all of our like multifaceted means.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? So that's important. Unity doesn't mean uniformity. So that being said, what is refresh the people? What is the mission and purpose of the Jefferson School Heritage Center?
The mission is to uplift and tell the stories of the Black people of Charlottesville.
Okay.
Right? We start with history as our basis for everything. Mm-hmm. Not just the history of the Jefferson School as a school, but the history of Charlottesville. Mm-hmm. 1860.
Yeah, that's a deep undertaking.
1860, this place was 53% Black.
Can you believe it?
Black. You know what I'm saying? So this has always been a chocolate city. This
so.
place, we built this place.
Facts.
Facts. And over the last few decades, we got real comfortable and stop telling our own stories to our own people. So the people who live in these places around town that are historically Black or have that kind of history attached to them, the people that live there don't know it anymore. So it's our job to hold those histories and hold space for those histories and to give space to people who want to add to that narrative.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And say, oh, you got a story about your grandparents who lived on 10th and Page?
Mm-hmm.
And come on, let's get it on record. Let's take this and put it in context with the overall history of that neighborhood, and let's tell the complete history. Right?
That sounds good.
And because the history is always our foundation, we are always looking at ways to make sure, people know it, that people can retell it accurately.
Right.
And to make sure that it's not forgotten in the stories that we're creating for ourselves today.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So we want to make sure that the stories of Black people are not being left out when new development happens.
Say so.
Right? You can't just because you have the money to buy a building and redo it doesn't mean you get to discount the people who have lived in that neighborhood for generations.
That's right.
Absolutely have to take into account what they've been through, what their taxes are used to being, what they want their neighborhood to look like and act like.
Yep.
Just because you got a pocket full of money don't mean nothing.
That's right. Now, and that goes back to the support, right?
Yes.
Of us respecting and appreciating the need for something like the Heritage Center, right?
Yes.
Because on one hand, people will say, well, things are going to evolve. History will be history. Unfortunately, as you see, if it doesn't make our people stand up when they see actual politicians trying to negate and erase our history from the teachings of our children,
right?
If that's not enough for you, when people come in with the resources, so to speak, that's a sign that we have to be united, right? Because
Absolutely.
there's power in us being unified, right?
Yep.
Once again, in us sort of keeping control over what's ours. And sometimes we even say that we don't have, enough money to go up against, a developer or whatnot.
But it ain't all about money.
It ain't all about money, but also we have the buying power, though.
Absolutely.
And And if we have to, and the only way that business people listen, you know, like the only way the top % listens is you got to hurt their pockets.
Absolutely.
So again, if we're unified and we say this is what we stand for, this is our, like I was talking to, you know, my brother Wes, you know, about like what is our agenda? Again, unity, not uniformity, but like what is the plight? Black Charlottesville, like what's important?
Right.
Like where do we intersect on what's important?
Yep.
And if we stand together, you know, on those principles,
those things,
then you get your way. Like that means city government has to listen, developers have to listen, so on and so forth.
Absolutely. Right? And you know, we have always been the place where Black people can come and say, "Yo, this is happening," and this group of people, I represent this group of people, and we want to have a voice. How do we do it?
Yeah.
And we've always been the place where we say, "Oh, that's your problem? Hold on, let me make a phone call."
That's right.
Because we know such and such, and they're the people that handle that, and we're gonna put you in touch with them.
Exactly.
And we're gonna see what we can do.
Yeah, and that's the importance of appointing the right people, right, to our boards, to our local government, that reflect our values. And then when they get in there, when the pressure is put on, like even with the Jefferson, right, like when funds get low and whatnot, like you're gonna miss it when it's gone. So like those are, you know, like those are the times where if we weren't before, need to be showing up, like making the donations and whatnot, because that's important. Like that, you know, our representation.
And
so
it's
important.
funny to me that, you know, one of the things that we have heard in the past was, oh, well, all that stuff you do, you only do it for white people. Actually, no. Let me just, I'm a,
Speak on it.
I'm gonna need you to come in my office and sit down. We gotta talk. Because that is absolutely untrue. Right. Everything that we do has a basis in Blackness.
Yep.
Absolutely everything. You know, from Charlottesville Players Guild that only does theater written by Black people for Black people, to the exhibitions in our contemporary gallery. We do 4 exhibitions a year, all Black artists.
Yes.
You know, I mean, we do Kwanzaa. We do Liberation and Freedom Day.
Absolutely.
We do Juneteenth. Like everything that we do is about celebrating the width and breadth of Blackness.
Yes.
Now, we can't help who walks in the door.
Yes.
And you know, they love to come in the dough. You know what I'm saying?
And so that's so important.
They love our rhythm and they hate our blues.
Hate the blues. And Leslie, I got to interject because that's so important. Like I want the people to understand that too, because you see it with so many organizations as well. Like you said, whoever wants to support can support. But on the downside, what happens is if those are the only folks that's coming through the door, if those are the only folks that's donating, if those are the only folks that's volunteering, you know, what have you, then evolution would say that they eventually will take control. You know what I mean? And I say that with all due respect because I'm not trying to default.
I understand.
You and, you know, Dr. Douglas do because y'all do great.
And let me tell you, we, Dr. Douglas and I, on the daily, have to shut certain white people down. Right? We on the daily have to look at a white person and be like, you do realize this ain't for you. You do realize this is actually not your space. And you don't have autonomy here to make the type of decision that you are attempting to make. On the daily. That's you know, I mean, when we go to find funds, we look at who the funders are we're going to. And there are some places where we're like, you know what? We don't want that kind of money.
That's important.
Right?
That's important. All money ain't good money.
All money ain't good money. And we have to be very careful about who we allow. I mean, there are some people that we won't even allow to rent the space because we don't want that association.
Yeah, it's important.
You know, so we are always very cognizant of making those choices.
Yeah.
And what I would say is that if you come to a free and open event and you see a lot of white faces, then maybe you should have brought a few fans with you.
Cutting deep.
Because I mean, because if we're not going to take care of the places that are there for us,
right,
then what are we doing?
What are we doing?
You know, like y'all show up 10 deep for a basketball game at Tonsler, but you won't show up for a jazz concert?
Right.
I mean, that's our stuff.
Yeah.
That's our stuff. That's music that we created.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
what's the issue?
Yeah, spot on.
But you know, like,
disagreements here.
but it's not gonna. it is not going to deter Dr. Douglas or myself. Like, we are here for the mission, and we're gonna continue to do what we do, knowing that that the community is behind us, right? That the community does support us. They want us here. They want us holding that space.
Yes.
So, you know, we're going to do what we do.
That's right. And I appreciate y'all. Appreciate it.
But we need to talk about the stuff we got coming up.
Absolutely. Wait, you know, I had to break the ice. So I do an icebreaker. You know, I had to get you in your zone, you know, to make sure that, you know, we not mincing words up in here today.
Oh, no. You know, you've met me. I don't mince no words.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are joined by Leslie Scott Jones of the Jefferson School Heritage Center. And, you know, as I said, they are up on the 10-year anniversary. And so, Leslie, we didn't mention, for those who may be new to you and your work, let the folks know your title. And then, if you wouldn't mind, let us know what the culmination of 10 years personally means to you, you know, and, you know, then to the community.
Yeah. So I am the curator of learning, engagement, and public programs. It's a very long title. And basically what it means is that I'm in charge of all of the public programming, all of the forward-facing programming, and involved in creating education opportunities for our young folk. And, you know, 10 years, it's a lot, especially when...
I must say it feels longer. I must say, like,
really?
I'm like 10 years. That's it, you know. I mean, like, it's a great milestone. But for some reason, I was thinking, you know, like that y'all been, you know, like that y'all been in existence with the current structure longer than that. But
no,
you know,
and you know what, what it feels like to me is that because no one thought we were going to make it 5 years. To hit that 10-year mark, it's like, it's that
big deal.
All right, you see, right? It was kind of like, you know, when someone says, well, we'll see what you doing in 5 years. It's kind of like, oh yeah, we will see. Yeah, we will absolutely see.
Yep, it proved the haters wrong.
But you know, petty is strong in me, you know. But you know, we've got so much coming up. So, Charlottesville Players Guild, the only Black theater program in the area. In 2016, we started a project to produce all of August Wilson's American Century Cycle, which is a cycle of 10 plays, each written in a different decade of the 20th century. And
can I interject there? Because I see August Wilson's name a lot in your work. So school us on the connection to August Wilson.
Oh, well, the reason that we wanted to do Wilson was because he's talking about Black life in each decade in a city that is very similar to Charlottesville, that it's a traditionally Black neighborhood that goes through bouts of urban renewal and gentrification. It's talking about, you know, the width and breadth of Black life, and it gives you a window into Black life during each decade of the 20th century.
Gotcha. Okay.
We also wanted to do it because no other playwright has ever done something like this. No other playwright has written this type of piece, right? Okay. Some playwrights have done triptychs, which are like 3 plays that are connected, but no other playwright has done a series of 10 plays that are all interconnected, not just through subject matter, but also through characters and lives.
Yes.
You know, the best friend in Fences is mentioned in Jitney, right?
Gotcha.
The son in Seven Guitars that is the woman is pregnant with the son that's in Seven Guitars shows up as a grown man in King Hedley II. So these plays are connected in ways that are so intricate.
Yeah.
And so it really is Black life, right?
Yeah. And I'm glad you said that, because that went over my head. Like, I did not realize all the connections. And that being said, August Wilson doesn't get enough credit.
He doesn't.
Because that's like J.R. Tolkien level. That's like,
yes,
that's like Marvel comic level.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
You know.
And when you think about the fact that a lot of Black artists, especially in this area, before we started this project, didn't even know who he was, had never read his plays.
Yes.
And so that's been the joy for me, is seeing these artists that I've been on stage with before, I've directed before, or find Wilson and find so much richness and intricacy in it. And really understand that there are things that are written for you that you can connect to in a way that you would never connect with something else.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we started in 2016. We
That's
did
nice.
Fences first. And we are on the last one, King Hedley II, and it opens next week on the 12th.
Yep. Yeah, and listeners, I did share the link to the Jefferson events page as well.
Yeah.
Follow up on those dates and ticket sales.
Yes, the 12th through the 22nd,
Yeah.
Thursday through Sunday for 2 weeks. Thursday through Saturday, house opens at 7, show starts at 7:30, and on Sundays, house opens at 1:30, show starts at 2.
Okay.
And this has been really amazing to watch because the setting for the play is the backyard of these two houses.
Okay.
And because of urban renewal and gentrification and all kinds of other stuff, there's a third house that would have been there, but it's been knocked down. So you can look through and see the street, the other side of the street, right? So we had a wonderful graphic designer who painted a backdrop of the street.
Okay.
So we've got this amazing backdrop in the back, and it's a really cool set. It's a really cool set, and the cast is amazing. Chris Evans is playing Hedley.
Okay.
He last worked with us directing Seven Guitars. Ike Anderson is in it.
Ike.
Denise Foley, Cadessa Davis, Jordan Sykes, and I'm gonna forget Nick's last name. I'm so sorry, Nick, but I can't remember his last name right now.
It's all good.
But this is an amazing.
You good.
He's gonna kill me, but anyway, it's an amazing cast, and they are working so hard, and I'm just floored. And the fact that we got a hometown bra to come home and direct it. It's directed by Darnell Walker.
That's right.
That was a
Doing
coup
big
for me
things.
too, right? I was like, I literally saw him last summer. He was back in town visiting family, and just happened to see him out, and he was like, yeah, y'all still doing theater? And I'm like, we absolutely are. I was like, wow, you coming? And he's like, what you got coming up next season? I want to do something.
Yeah.
That.
That's dope.
I always
Shouts out
got
to
stuff.
Darnell.
Let's go.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: like, when you think about folks like Darnell, or when you think about, the rise of the Fences story, on how it, went to the big screen. Do you ever focus on that at all, like to try to draw more attention, or does that make a difference to, when it comes to folks' reception of things, like like sort of the degrees of separation of saying,
Right.
oh, Fences that Denzel was in, yeah, let me go check that. You know what I mean? Or saying, oh yeah, Darnell's doing big things, so I'm gonna go check that out. Like, do you try to like maybe do plays that may be more familiar, or do you feel like you want to open people up to new experiences more so?
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, on the marketing side, I mean, we chose to do Fences first because we knew the movie was coming out, and we were like, oh, so people who don't know may like recognize, even if they didn't go to see it, right? They would recognize it and be like, oh, that's happening in my town. Well, let's go here.
Yeah.
But I think the larger, more important part for me is opening us up to what our width and breadth of artistic expression is.
Yep.
And I continue to tell all of my artists, I'm like, you guys, there's so much that you are not going to be taught in an academic setting. Right? If you go to NYU right now for acting, they are not going to teach you the stuff that you would learn here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's not to poo-poo, NYU at all.
It's just different, right?
It's just different.
Yeah.
And it hits different, right? NYU is going to teach you about Stanislavski and Uta Hagen and all that. We are teaching you from the Black aesthetic. We are asking you to connect with ancestral knowledge and to use that as your impetus to create.
Ain't mad at that.
Right? And that's completely different. And for a Black artist, it's game changing.
Yeah.
So King Headley opens next week, and then directly following King Headley, from the 23rd to the 28th, we have a week-long symposium. I'm bringing 3 professional practitioners to town from all over the country, and we're going to have panel discussions and master classes. The one that everybody is going to love is Teresa Dalvest, our hometown girl.
Okay. Man, Seaville folks do it big, no?
Right? She is currently the head of the communications department at Prairie View A&M in Houston.
Okay.
And she is a PhD candidate there. I mean, she's doing all the things. So she's coming back for the whole week. She's going to be part of some panel discussions, and she's teaching a master class on directing the Black theatrical voice. And then we have Justin Emeka, who up until about a year and a half ago was a professor at Oberlin College in theater and Africana studies. Justin's also an independent filmmaker and a director. He is a resident director at Pittsburgh Playhouse.
Okay.
And has started his own directing career. He's teaching a master class called Shakespeare and the Black Aesthetic. Justin revamped Midsummer Night's Dream and performed it at Shakespeare in the Park in New York.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And it's called Midsummer Night's Dream in Harlem.
In Harlem. I love it.
Right? Like, he is a master at taking Shakespeare and making it drip blackness. And it's beautiful to watch.
Was Shakespeare a person of color? Like, that's a rumor,
That is a rumor.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
And in some
What do you
ways,
believe?
I don't care. I love Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Like, I have done a lot of Shakespeare. But my thing is that the thing I love about it is that you can overlay anything onto it. It is written so universally that you can mold it to whatever you want.
Yeah.
And the revelation of putting blackness on it is just, it's the most gorgeous thing I've ever found.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and that's why I mentioned that as well.
Yeah.
That's why I mentioned that, because a lot of times we as a people don't do things that may be fruitful for us.
Oh yeah.
Like unless it's
because
cool.
we've never done it, so we're like,
you know what I mean?
"Ugh." And I understand
you
that.
know, like, or folks may be like, oh, that's you know, like that's what white folk do.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, but I'm telling y'all, I've been, and if anybody else has been, like, they know that this is quality stuff, top tier, acting, writing, directing, all that good stuff. It's definitely worth supporting.
Yeah. So Justin's going to do a class on that. And at the end of the class, he's actually going to show his new film. He's got a 10-minute short that he filmed. And it is an adaptation of a scene from Richard III. So he's done, that he's updated to current times. So that's a treat because it's not out yet. Like, nobody has seen it yet.
Yeah. Now, is that something like that you do a lot of, or interested in doing more of you know, like the adaptations of things that may have been seen traditionally one way, but saying, you know what, like, let's put a spin on that. Is that
absolutely
like at the heart of?
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what we have been doing for the past, 6.5 years. Is because Wilson is known as the Black Shakespeare. That's why we've been doing so much Shakespeare. To make the point. And he's known as the Black Shakespeare because of how he uses language. He uses language in a lot of very similar ways to Shakespeare, in that it has a rhythm, it has a cadence. And if you don't follow that rhythm or cadence, it kind of doesn't make sense.
Gotcha.
So that's why we chose to do Shakespeare in between the Wilsons.
Makes sense.
But, and then we have Dr. Tanya Pettiford-Waits.
Okay.
We call her Dr. T. Everybody calls her Dr. T. She is a professor of pedagogy at Virginia Commonwealth University.
Now, I think I know what that is, but go ahead and school me, though.
She basically teaches theater teachers.
Okay.
That's what she does.
Okay, gotcha.
Which is amazing. And one of my mentors, I cannot express to you how wise and just amazing this woman is. She went to Carnegie Mellon undergrad. Her very first professional acting job was in the first touring company of For Colored Girls.
Wow.
She toured all over the U.S. and in Europe with For Colored Girls. She's directed it 3 times, and she's played every single part. Yeah.
Like on stage?
On stage.
Wow. Okay.
She's done TV shows. She's done movies. She talks about how she had this amazing undergrad education at Carnegie Mellon, like one of the top 10 universities in the country, right? But that education did not prepare her for her first job, because she found out about this. She went to, do the audition. She gets the script, and it looked nothing like anything she had ever encountered. And realized she was not prepared, that this education that she just paid all this money for didn't prepare her to do work that was based in who she was.
Funny how that happens.
So she had literally 24 hours to figure out how to work with this script that looked nothing like she'd ever seen.
Right.
Nailed it.
Right.
And then spent years just immersed in it. And then when she got to the point where she was teaching, she was like, I need to make sure that every Black artist that comes after me knows what I know, that they don't get blindsided by this the way I was. And so she is just a wealth of knowledge, and so warm and inviting, and I just can't tell you how much I love this woman.
Yeah. No, that is awesome.
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
she's going to teach a master class on the Black actor's approach. And I want to say that
what is that?
That actually, she's the first master class that's going to be taught during the week.
Okay.
But I want to say to people that yes, it's called the Black actor's approach, and yes, it's absolutely for theater people. But it's also for people, like if you have a job where you have to speak in front of people a lot, come.
Oh, there
Come.
you go. There you go.
You will get something out of it, right? You will understand how you are perceived and how you perceive an audience in a very different way. Like you don't have to be a theater person to get something out of these classes.
Well, that's a valuable lesson because most of us just code switch.
Right?
We make ourselves palatable.
Yes.
We fit in.
Yes.
But look, so I'm going to press into what you just now said a little bit because even still, you are Black. You are an actor. And so what does the Black actor's approach mean to Leslie?
To me, and this is what I learned from Dr. T, is that when I approach a role, when I approach a moment where I have to like be in the public, I lean on my ancestral knowledge, right? I mean, Charles, you saw me sitting in the car before I came in the building, right? You know what I was doing?
Calling on ancestors.
I was literally, I was sitting in the car asking my grandmothers, yo, sweeten my words this morning, okay?
I love it.
Make sure that I am presenting myself in a way that is not palatable, but that is constructive to the people who are going to hear me, right? Make sure I am representing to myself in a way that you would be proud of me.
You know, I think it requires, because I've heard a lot of different people, but I've heard Black women and successful Black women talk about code switching in their professional setting and what have you. And so I think, from my perspective, it requires a level of confidence in oneself or culture in order to be able to resist that.
Yes.
And not all of us have it, and how we develop it or foster it.
And you know,
you're gonna have to
be
come to
brave
class.
enough to stand in it.
Yeah.
Hey, she ain't gonna give you too much game for free, Max.
Well,
gotta
you know,
go to
why are we on top, man?
I'm just saying, like, so when I directed Gem of the Ocean, I had Dr. T come and present to my cast, like. And she was really funny. She asked me, she said, she's like, well, how far are you into rehearsal? I was like, we've done 2 read-throughs and that's it. Like, they are not memorized, nothing. I'm like, I need them to start with a foundation of realizing that their ancestral knowledge and working with ancestors is important, because that's what this show is about. It is all about ritual. It is all about connection with ancestors. It is all about knowing your history. Like, I need them to viscerally connect to that. And so she comes in and she does her thing, and everybody was amazed. And one of my actors comes up to me afterwards and he goes, I never knew that I could work this way. It's like, yeah, you can. Like, all this is in you.
Yeah, God given.
It's right.
Wow.
God given, ancestor given.
Yeah.
Like, all this stuff, all of this ancestral knowledge is here. Why are you not drawing on it? Right?
Because the schools that you spoke of, like, sort of taught it out of. Right?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, you kind of go against your
Absolutely.
like, sort of innate, thoughts, right?
Yeah.
Because you're told I got to do it this way.
She did this wonderful thing with us. She actually created a ritual for us that we did during rehearsal, where we actually poured water. We did libation, right? We poured libation to our ancestors, and we chose ancestors to help us on the journey of creating these characters, of doing this show, right? And then every night we would do the same ritual, and we would pour libation, and we would ask those ancestors to help us. And just the act of doing that ritual every night and being cognizant that, right, I'm trying to reach that part of my ancestral knowledge. It changes how you move.
And so, in your own personal opinion, I'm asking questions for the sake of it, just unpacking the topic. Is that the only way to get to that point?
It's not the only way, but it's a way that most people aren't taught to access.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically for Black people, it is much more profound, right? There's a thing when you're acting. There's a saying where you either work from the inside out or the outside in, right? And there are some actors that they're like, oh, I need my costume, or I need the set, or I need something from the outside in order to do what they need to do. And then there are actors that work from the inside out. They want to know, they want to dive deep into this character's life and do lots of research about, like, oh, especially if it's like a time period piece. It's like, oh, okay, well, in the 1900s in Pittsburgh, what would, what did the streets look like? What are, what was their day to day in order to get into their character? This is the epitome of working from the inside out, because you are literally relying on things that you inherently know. Things that you don't even know until you call on them. And then when you call on them, you're like, oh,
yes, deep.
Oh, I got that.
That's dope.
That's
dope. Yeah.
And that can help. That's not just for an actor,
Right.
That's for any Black person, right? That's good for you to know.
So, Charles, before you walk up into UVA in the morning, I'm going to need you to call on some people.
Sis, only if you knew how much I do.
No,
How much I
got you. I do.
Yeah, but
Please, depending on the situation, I'm like, Granddaddy, I'm gonna need you to help me with this one.
and sometimes you gotta remind them folk that the ancestors built this place, and they still out here.
Right?
Don't get it twisted.
Don't get it twisted.
So so Leslie, we are up against the hour, but appreciate you as always. But want to make sure we didn't miss anything. No.
So I need to tell you about one more thing.
Yes, indeed.
So T. Ames, Rochelle Claiborne, and I are doing a concert on November 11th, and it is to benefit Charlottesville Players Guild.
Okay.
So it's a benefit, but we are singing. Now, this was Dr. Douglas's idea. She wanted to have a concert of all of the women that we don't hear from anymore. Those divas that aren't played on the radio anymore.
Okay.
So T and Rochelle and I got together and made this amazing set list. So we got like Stephanie Mills, Heather Hadley. Oh yes, honey. And some amazing musicians behind us: Chris Redd, Drew Pompano, Tucker Rogers. Like, it's going to be an amazing night of Black music. Yeah, so
Sounds
we
like
each
fun.
have our own like 20-minute set, and then we come together and do another like 30-minute set of like girl groups.
Okay.
Okay. Dr. Douglas singing?
No.
Okay.
What you singing? Let me a sample. No, me.
I didn't know she had that skill. I was about to say.
Me.
No, Dr. Douglas. No, you. I knew you sang, but I thought you said Dr. Douglas was going to sing.
No.
I've never heard you sing.
But but the show was Dr. Douglas's idea.
Her idea. Okay.
She comes in and she's like, I had an idea.
Something for y'all to do.
Basically, I had an idea. Now you gonna make it happen. Yes,
Gotcha.
ma'am.
So she's the manager of the Dream Girls. I get it.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. But it's called Songbirds and Divas.
Yeah. November 11th, right?
Yes, November 11th, 8:00. Yeah, come by because it's gonna be an amazing night. So I'm doing all the old jazz stuff, right? So
Okay.
I'm the one that's doing Ella and Catherine Russell,
I like
and then Rochelle's doing the more updated stuff. So she's doing the Mickey Howard and all, and T is doing the even more updated, the current R&B. So. And then we get together and we doing some Climax and some Weather Girls and some SWV and some Brownstone.
All right, don't hurt them.
All the
Leslie,
heavy
don't hurt
hitters.
'em.
All the heavy hitters. That we're crying to hear.
Pretty much.
Yes, indeed. So Leslie, definitely before you go though, whatever your last words, for the folks to come out and support and have a great time. But let them know how to reach you so they can become members, volunteer, intern, all that stuff.
Yes, we are always looking for volunteers. We are absolutely getting ready to start looking for interns. Mm-hmm. So, if you are a high school or a college student in the area, you might want to, keep an eye out on our website, because we need a research intern and a marketing intern. So we're looking for it. We got some work for you. But yeah, you can always reach me. My email is publicprograms, all lowercase, all one word, at jeffschoolheritagecenter.org. And my number is 434-260-8722. I may not be able to answer all the time, but leave me a message. I will return your call. I absolutely promise.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Leslie, thank you. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah.
I appreciate your realness.
It's always fun. Always fun coming on here with y'all.
Yeah. Max, it's always refreshing when you have people, and I'm going to say this before our next guests come up, people that don't bite their tongue and, speak what's on their mind, and so, because it makes our job easier, Leslie, you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
Like when you don't got to tug and pull information out of people.
Oh, you never have to pull anything out of me. Most of the time you're like, yo, shut up.
No.
It's all good, man. You want to take us a break, Miss Max?
Yep, we've enjoyed your company. Seriously, Leslie. Thank you.
Absolutely.